Chapter 1, The Shattered Star. Holly hummed a festive tune as she looped garlands of sparkling pine around the counter of her bakery, the gingerbread hearth. The scent of freshly baked sugar cookies wafted through the air, mingling with the evergreen aroma. Her pointed witch hat sat slightly askew, a smudge of flour on the brim from her morning's work. She stepped back, eyeing the arrangement critically. A twist of her fingers and a sprinkle of magic dusted the garlands with a soft glow, like fresh snow under moonlight. Satisfied, she turned her attention to the towering Christmas tree in the corner, its branches adorned with ornaments that shimmered and spun, each one enchanted by a different resident of Merry Hollow. The bell above the door jingled as Mrs. Clausberry, the town's elderberry wine maker, bustled in. "Morning, Holly. The place looks charming." "Thanks, Mrs. C, just putting the final touches on for the Enchanted Ornament Exchange tonight." Holly smiled, tucking a stray curl back into her ponytail. Mrs. Clausberry held up a small, intricately carved ornament shaped like a wine bottle. "I've brought my contribution. It's filled with a drop of last year's vintage. Should bring a bit of cheer to whoever takes it home." Holly took the ornament, her fingers tingling with the magic infused within. "This is wonderful. I'm sure it'll be a hit." She hung it on the tree, where it swayed gently, casting a warm, inviting glow. The door swung open again, admitting a gust of cold air and Jack Frost, his ice-blue eyes scanning the room. "Holly, a word?" His voice was as crisp as a winter's morning. Holly raised an eyebrow, noting the seriousness in his tone. "Of course, Jack. What's on your mind?" She brushed her hands on her apron, leaving streaks of flour. Jack stepped closer, lowering his voice. "It's about the exchange. I've been hearing whispers, something strange is going on." Holly's green eyes met his, her curiosity piqued. "Strange? In what way?" Jack leaned in, his breath frosting slightly in the air. "Ornaments going missing, enchantments fizzling out, and I swear I saw someone lurking around your bakery last night." Holly's brows furrowed, her festive mood dampening. "We can't have that. Not with the exchange tonight." She untied her apron, her mind already racing with plans. "Let's find out what's going on." Holly and Jack stepped out of the gingerbread hearth, the bell chiming a cheerful farewell. The cobblestone streets of Merry Hollow bustled with activity as residents prepared for the Enchanted Ornament Exchange. Across the square, Mr. Pinecone, the town's gruff yet kind-hearted tree-keeper, directed a chorus of evergreens. Their branches swayed in harmony, adorning themselves with shimmering lights and tinsel. He caught Holly's eye and nodded, his beard bristling with pine needles. Next door, Mistress Marzipan sculpted intricate figurines from almond paste, her fingers dancing with magic. She placed each one on her windowsill, where they came to life, skating and sledding across the sugar-spun scene. In the town square, Mayor Sugarplum oversaw the construction of a grand ice sculpture. At his command, a team of enchanted nutcrackers carved and chiseled, their movements precise and synchronized. The mayor beamed, his round cheeks rosy with excitement. Jack watched, his breath misting in the crisp air. "Quite the spectacle, isn't it?" Holly smiled. "Merry Hollow knows how to put on a show." They passed Mrs. Gingersnap's dance studio, where tiny sugarplum fairies pirouetted in the window. Their laughter tinkled like bells, drawing giggles from Holly and Jack. Further down, Mr. Candy Cane twisted red and white stripes around lampposts, his hands moving deftly. He winked at Holly, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Evening, Holly." "Jack." The scent of peppermint filled the air as they approached Mr. Chocolatier's shop. Inside, he poured molten chocolate into molds, creating delicate ornaments that hardened instantly, gleaming with edible magic. Holly's heart swelled with pride and joy. This was her town, her family. She'd do anything to protect them, to keep their spirit alive. As they neared the town hall, Jack paused, his gaze fixed on the towering Christmas tree. Its stars sparkled brilliantly, casting prisms of light across the square. "It's magnificent," he murmured. Holly looked at him, then at the tree. "It is. And it's our job to make sure it stays that way." Determination steeled her voice. Jack met her gaze, a silent agreement passing between them. Together, they'd unravel the mystery threatening Merry Hollow, ensuring the town's magic endured. But for now, they'd enjoy the festivities, drawing strength from the community's shared cheer. Holly and Jack slipped into the town hall, the hum of excited chatter filling the air. The Enchanted Ornament Exchange was about to begin, and every seat was filled with eager residents. At the front, Mayor Kringle stood by a podium, his rotund figure draped in a velvet suit trimmed with white fur. He cleared his throat, and the room hushed. "Welcome, welcome, dear friends." Mayor Kringle's voice boomed, his cheeks rosy with cheer. "Tonight, we gather not just to exchange ornaments, but to celebrate our unity, our magic, and our love for Merry Hollow." He paused, his gaze sweeping over the crowd. "This year marks the centennial of our beloved town. 100 years of eternal Christmas, of joy and warmth amidst the snow. But tonight, we must also remember the true source of our magic, each other." Holly leaned forward, the mayor's words resonating within her. She glanced at Jack, his ice-blue eyes reflecting the twinkling lights of the hall. He met her gaze, a small smile playing on his lips. "Our founders," Mayor Kringle continued, "created this haven with a vision of peace and harmony. They harnessed the power of ancient winter spirits, binding them to our town, to create an eternal Christmas." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Holly's brows furrowed, a nagging unease settling in her stomach. She'd never heard this version of Merry Hollow's history. "But with great power comes great responsibility," the mayor said, his voice solemn. "We must never forget that our magic is a gift, one that requires balance and respect." He clapped his hands, the sound echoing through the hall. "And now, let the exchange begin. May each ornament bring joy, warmth, and a touch of magic to your homes." The room erupted in cheers. Holly and Jack exchanged a glance, the mayor's words hanging heavy between them. The history of Merry Hollow ran deeper than they'd known, and the truth seemed shrouded in a chill not even Jack's magic could dispel. As residents began to mingle, Holly turned to Jack. "We need to find out more about these winter spirits. If they're the source of our magic." Jack nodded, his expression serious. "Then they might be the key to solving our mystery." Their conversation paused as Mrs. Clausberry approached, her ornament cradled in her hands. "Holly, dear, would you like to start the exchange?" Holly offered a warm smile, pushing her concerns aside for the moment. "Of course, Mrs. C, let's spread some cheer." As Holly reached for the ornament, the lights flickered, casting eerie shadows across the hall. Gasps echoed through the room, and Holly's heart pounded. Something was amiss, and it seemed the night would bring more than just festive cheer. The town hall buzzed with excitement as Mayor Kringle took the stage, the celestial star cradled in his hands. The ornament pulsed with a soft, ethereal light, casting a warm glow over the assembled crowd. Holly stood near the front, Jack by her side, their earlier conversation temporarily set aside in favor of the evening's festivities. "Friends," Mayor Kringle began, his voice booming through the hall, "tonight, we light the celestial star, a symbol of our unity, our magic, and our eternal Christmas spirit. May it shine brightly, guiding us through another joyous year." He raised the star, the room hushed in anticipation. Holly held her breath, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and apprehension. The star's light intensified, its glow enveloping the mayor, casting his round figure in a shimmering silhouette. Suddenly, a crack echoed through the hall. The light flickered, and gasps rippled through the crowd. Holly's eyes widened as she watched a thin fissure spread across the star's surface. Mayor Kringle faltered, his grip tightening around the ornament. "What's happening?" he murmured, his gaze darting to Holly, then to Jack, a silent plea for help. Jack stepped forward, his hands outstretched, ice-blue eyes focused on the star. A chill swept through the room, his magic attempting to stabilize the fracturing ornament. But the crack deepened, the light pulsing erratically. Holly joined him, her hands hovering near the star. She drew upon her own magic, the scent of gingerbread and pine filling the air. Together, she whispered, her voice steady despite the panic rising within her. Their magics intertwined, a dance of ice and warmth, sugar and spice. For a moment, the star's light steadied, hope flickering in the mayor's eyes. But then, with a sharp, resonating crack, the celestial star shattered. Shards of crystal rained down, the light extinguishing, casting the hall into darkness. Screams filled the air, the room erupting into chaos. Holly stood frozen, shock coursing through her veins. The symbol of Mary Hollow's magic, their eternal Christmas spirit, lay in pieces at her feet. Jack's hand found hers, his grip firm, grounding. "Holly," he said, his voice barely audible over the commotion. "We need to find out who did this." Her eyes met his, determination replacing the shock. She nodded, her resolve strengthening. The mystery they'd been chasing had just become a matter of life and death for Mary Hollow. And she would not let her town down. Chaos erupted in the town hall. Ornaments, once gleaming with festive magic, now careened wildly through the air. A Nutcracker marching band clattered to life, their drumbeats echoing like thunder as they stomped across the floor, sending residents scrambling. "Watch out!" Holly shouted, dodging a rogue candy cane that whizzed past her ear. She turned to Jack, her eyes wide with alarm. "We need to contain this. Now." Jack nodded, his hands already weaving intricate patterns in the air. Ice crystals formed, attempting to encapsulate the rogue ornaments. But the enchanted objects resisted, their magic clashing with Jack's frost. A sugarplum fairy zipped past Holly, its wings leaving a trail of sparkling stardust. She reached out, her fingers brushing against the tiny figure. A jolt of sweet magic surged through her, and the fairy slowed, its flight path wavering. Holly's brows furrowed, an idea sparking in her mind. "Jack, we need to counter their magic, not just contain it." She scanned the room, her gaze landing on the refreshment table laden with festive treats. "Sugar magic. We use their own power against them." Jack glanced at the table, understanding dawning in his eyes. "You take the lead. I'll back you up." Holly dashed to the table, her hands hovering over the platters of cookies, cakes, and candies. She could feel their magical potential, each treat humming with a unique enchantment. She grabbed a handful of peppermint bark, the sharp scent filling her nostrils. "Freeze," she commanded, crushing the bark in her fist. A wave of cool, tingling magic washed over the room. The Nutcracker band faltered, their movements slowing as ice crept up their wooden limbs. Jack followed her lead, his hands dancing with frost as he amplified Holly's spell. The Nutcrackers ground to a halt, frozen in mid-march. Emboldened, Holly turned her attention to a cluster of spinning dreidels. She snatched a gingerbread man from the table, its soft form pulsing with warm, comforting magic. "Calm," she whispered, crumbling the cookie between her fingers. The dreidels wobbled, their spin slowing until they toppled over, their wild dance subdued. Across the room, a group of panicked residents huddled together, their eyes wide as they watched the spectacle. Holly's heart ached for them, for the fear and confusion that gripped her beloved town. She couldn't let this chaos continue. She reached for a candy cane, its stripes swirling with soothing magic. She snapped it in half, the sound sharp and decisive. "Peace," she murmured, the magic flowing from her fingertips, a gentle wave washing over the room. The remaining ornaments settled, their wild dance calmed, the chaos quelled. Holly surveyed the hall, her breath coming in quick gasps. The ornaments were subdued, but the townsfolk were shaken. She turned to Jack, his ice blue eyes reflecting the now still decorations. "We did it," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But their relief was short-lived. A sudden gust of wind swept through the hall, carrying with it a chill that cut through Holly's festive sweater. The lights flickered, and an eerie whisper echoed through the room. The voice was cold, malevolent, and filled with a dark power that sent shivers down Holly's spine. "Fools," it hissed. "You cannot contain what you do not understand." As the eerie whisper faded, the town hall doors burst open, and in marched the Kringle clan. Led by the formidable Kristoff Kringle, the family strode in, their red and green velvet cloaks billowing behind them. Their boots, polished to a mirror shine, echoed sharply against the wooden floor, silencing the room. Kristoff, his beard as white as fresh snow, scanned the hall, his gaze landing on Mayor Kringle. "Cousin," he acknowledged, his voice booming. "We've heard of the situation. We're here to take control." Mayor Kringle, still shaken, straightened his waistcoat. "Kristoff, I assure you, we have everything under." Kristoff silenced him with a wave. "Under control? The celestial star is shattered, ornaments are running amok, and you think you have it handled?" He turned to his clan, a group of stern-faced men and women. "Secure the perimeter. Contain any rogue magic. We can't have this chaos spreading." Holly stepped forward, her green eyes sparkling with determination. "With all due respect, Mr. Kringle, we've already contained the ornaments. Jack and I." Kristoff's gaze shifted to Holly, then to Jack. His eyes narrowed, taking in Jack's shimmering blue coat. "Jack Frost, isn't it? I've heard whispers about you. An outsider meddling in Mary Hollow's affairs." Jack met Kristoff's gaze, his voice steady. "I'm here to help, not meddle." Kristoff scoffed. "We'll see about that. In the meantime, the Kringle clan will handle this. We have the experience, the magic, and the bloodline." Holly's brows furrowed, her hands clenching at her sides. "Bloodline? This isn't about ancestry, it's about Mary Hollow. Our home. We all have a stake in protecting it." Kristoff's expression softened slightly, but his voice remained firm. "Be that as it may, we can't have amateurs running the show. Not with the stakes this high." He turned to his clan, issuing orders. "Search the hall for any remaining rogue magic. I want a full report on the stars shattering. And someone find out who's behind this." As the Kringle clan fanned out, Holly turned to Jack, her voice low. "We can't just stand by. We need to find out who, or what, is behind this." Jack nodded, his ice blue eyes reflecting the shimmering lights of the hall. "Agreed. But we need to be smart about it. Let the Kringles handle the cleanup. We'll focus on the investigation." Holly looked around the hall, her gaze landing on the shattered remnants of the celestial star. She leaned down, carefully picking up a shard. It pulsed with a soft, warm light, resonating with a magic that felt both familiar and strange. "The star," she murmured, holding up the shard. "It's not just broken. It's changed. We need to find out why." Jack's gaze met hers, understanding passing between them. As the Kringle clan bustled around them, they slipped away, their minds set on unraveling the mystery that threatened their town. The star's shattering was more than just a malfunction, it was a message. And Holly was determined to decipher it. Holly and Jack shared a determined look, their resolve strengthening as they prepared to take action. The celestial star's shattering was a mystery that needed solving, and they were the ones to do it. "We need to find out more about the star," Holly said, her voice low. "There's something strange about the way it broke, and I think it's connected to the chaos in the town." Jack nodded, his ice blue eyes scanning the hall. "Agreed. But where do we start? The star is ancient, and its magic is intertwined with Mary Hollow's history. Holly's gaze fell on the town library, its tall, arched windows casting a warm glow into the night. "The library," she said, her voice filled with conviction. "If there's any information about the star, we'll find it there." Jack followed her gaze, a small smile playing on his lips. "Lead the way, Holly Evergreen. I have a feeling we're about to uncover some long-forgotten secrets." As they made their way through the town, the snow crunching beneath their boots, Holly couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. She glanced over her shoulder, her eyes scanning the shadows, but saw nothing out of the ordinary. "Do you feel that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Like someone's following us?" Jack's gaze swept over the town, his senses heightened. "I don't see anyone, but I'll keep an eye out. We can't be too careful." They reached the library, its doors creaking open as they stepped inside. The warmth of the building enveloped them, the scent of old books and beeswax candles filling the air. Holly led the way to the history section, her fingers trailing over the spines of the leather-bound volumes. "Here," she said, pulling a heavy tome from the shelf. "This is the history of Mary Hollow. It should have information on the star." They settled at a table, the book open between them. Holly's eyes scanned the pages, her brows furrowing as she read. "It says here that the celestial star was created by the first inhabitants of Mary Hollow, using the magic of the trapped winter spirits. It was meant to harmonize their powers, creating a balance that would sustain the town's eternal Christmas." Jack leaned closer, his gaze fixed on the text. "And what happens if that balance is disrupted?" Holly's eyes widened as she read the next passage. "It says that if the star is broken, the spirits will be released, their powers unleashed in a chaotic storm that could destroy Mary Hollow." Jack's eyes met hers, the gravity of the situation settling between them. "Then we need to find a way to repair the star before it's too late." Holly nodded, her determination unwavering. "We'll need to find the pieces, and figure out how to restore the star's magic. But first, we need to find out who, or what, broke it in the first place." As they delved deeper into the history of Mary Hollow, the weight of their task settled upon them. The celestial star was more than just a symbol of their town's magic, it was the key to their survival. And it was up to Holly and Jack to unravel the mystery and save Mary Hollow from the chaos that threatened to consume it. Holly and Jack slipped away from the commotion, their minds focused on the task at hand. The celestial star's shattering was more than just a malfunction, it was a message. And they were determined to decipher it. As they made their way through the town, the snow crunching beneath their boots, Holly couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. She glanced over her shoulder, her eyes scanning the shadows, but saw nothing out of the ordinary. "Do you feel that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Like someone's following us?" Jack's gaze swept over the town, his senses heightened. "I don't see anyone, but I'll keep an eye out. We can't be too careful." They reached the town square, the great Christmas tree looming above them. The once bright lights now flickered erratically, casting eerie shadows across the snow. Holly's gaze fell on the shattered remnants of the celestial star, its pieces scattered around the base of the tree. "We need to find the other pieces," she said, her voice filled with determination. "The star's magic is too powerful to leave scattered. If someone finds them..." Jack nodded, his ice blue eyes scanning the area. "Agreed. We'll split up and search the town. Meet back here in an hour." As they parted ways, Holly couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled in her stomach. The celestial star's shattering was more than just a mystery, it was a threat to everything she held dear. And she was determined to protect Mary Hollow, no matter the cost. Holly searched the town, her eyes scanning the snow for any sign of the missing star pieces. She found one lodged in the branches of a nearby tree, its light pulsing weakly. As she reached for it, she heard a rustling in the bushes behind her. She spun around, her heart pounding, but saw nothing. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing thoughts. "It's just the wind," she whispered to herself. But as she turned back to the tree, she caught a glimpse of movement from the corner of her eye. She whirled around, her eyes narrowing as she spotted a figure darting between the buildings. "Hey!" she shouted, her voice echoing through the empty streets. "Stop!" The figure paused, then darted away, disappearing into the shadows. Holly took off after them, her heart pounding as she chased the mysterious stranger through the town. She followed them to the edge of town, where the snow-covered forest loomed. The figure disappeared into the trees, and Holly hesitated, her breath coming in quick gasps. She knew the dangers that lurked in the forest, the creatures that prowled the shadows. But she couldn't let the stranger get away. Not when they might hold the key to the celestial stars shattering. She took a deep breath, then plunged into the forest, her eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of the mysterious figure. The trees loomed above her, their branches casting eerie shadows across the snow. She could hear the distant howl of a wolf, the rustle of leaves as the wind picked up. She followed the footprints in the snow, her heart pounding as she ventured deeper into the forest. The darkness closed in around her, the shadows growing longer and more menacing. She could feel the magic of the forest, the ancient power that hummed beneath the surface. And then, she saw it, a faint glow, pulsing in the distance. She quickened her pace, her heart racing as she approached the source of the light. As she rounded a bend, she saw the figure standing before her, their back turned. They held a piece of the celestial star, its light pulsing in their hand. "Stop!" Holly shouted, her voice echoing through the forest. "That's the property of Mary Hollow." The figure turned, their face hidden in the shadows. And then, they spoke, their voice cold and mocking. "Mary Hollow's property? I think not. The celestial star belongs to the one who can control its power. And that, my dear, is not you." Holly's eyes widened as the figure stepped forward, their face illuminated by the star's light. It was Christoph Kringle, his eyes gleaming with a dark, malevolent power. "You?" Holly gasped, her voice barely above a whisper. "But why?" Christoph's lips curled into a cold, cruel smile. "Why?" "Because the celestial star is the key to Mary Hollow's magic. And with its power, I can control the town, and everyone in it." Holly's heart pounded as she stared at Christoph, her mind racing. She couldn't let him have the star's power. She had to stop him, no matter the cost. She reached for her magic, the warmth of her baking magic surging through her veins. She focused on the piece of the star in Christoph's hand, her magic reaching out to it. But as she touched the star, a jolt of energy surged through her, knocking her back. She cried out, her vision blurring as she hit the ground. Christoph laughed, his voice echoing through the forest. "You foolish girl. You can't defeat me. I am the true heir of Mary Hollow, the one who will rule its magic." Holly struggled to her feet, her vision swimming as she stared at Christoph. She couldn't let him win. She had to find a way to stop him. And then, she heard it, the sound of footsteps crunching in the snow. She turned, her eyes widening as she saw Jack approaching, his ice magic swirling around him. "Jack," she cried, her voice filled with relief. "He's got the star's power. We have to stop him." Jack's eyes narrowed as he stared at Christoph, his magic surging. "Leave it to me," he said, his voice cold and determined. He charged forward, his ice magic slamming into Christoph. The two men clashed, their magic sparking as they fought for control of the star's power. Holly watched, her heart pounding, as Jack and Christoph battled. She could feel the power of the star, the ancient magic that surged through the forest. And she knew that whoever controlled that power would control Mary Hollow's fate. She reached for her magic, her baking magic surging as she joined the fight. She focused on the piece of the star in Christoph's hand, her magic reaching out to it. And then, she felt it, a surge of power, a connection to the star's magic. She could feel its energy, its ancient wisdom. And she knew that she could use that power to stop Kristoff. She focused her magic, her baking magic melding with the star's power. She could feel the energy building, the magic surging through her veins. And then, she released it, her magic slamming into Kristoff. He cried out, his grip on the star's piece faltering as he stumbled back. Jack took advantage of the moment, his ice magic surging as he struck Kristoff again. The force of the blow sent Kristoff flying, the piece of the star slipping from his grasp. Holly caught it, her magic wrapping around it as she held it tight. She could feel the star's power, the ancient magic that surged through her veins. And she knew that she could use that power to restore the star, to save Mary Hollow. She turned to Jack, her eyes shining with determination. "We have to fix the star," she said, her voice filled with conviction. "We have to save Mary Hollow." Jack nodded, his ice blue eyes meeting hers. "Together," he said, his voice filled with warmth.